What are the three biggest shifts do you think that leaders will face in the next 5, 10 years?
Based on an experience. If you're healthy, you're successful. And if you're unhealthy, you're not successful.
Concept of managing by values. What does that mean in practice?
You get this objective, I'm happy, you're happy, the company is happy, you get paid, everything is perfect.
A piece of advice for leaders, what would it be?
I wrote a very theoretical articles about what constitutes success in life.
Welcome to Leadership Plunge podcast, the show where top performers dive into the challenges of becoming first-time managers and rise as impactful leaders. Each episode explores the high-stakes transition from technical expert to people leader, featuring insights from CHROs, founders, CEOs, and leadership visionaries shaping today's organizations. If you're navigating the waters of first-time management, expect bold conversations, real strategies, and the mental edge needed to lead with clarity and purpose. Here are your hosts, Marilis Garcia and Bhavna Karani.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Leadership Plunge. I'm your host, Bhavna Karani, co-founder of Mindslines, and I have the pleasure to have with me Dr. Simon L. Dolland, a world-renowned expert on leadership and specifically an expert in values-driven leadership, which I'm super excited about. Simon has over 80 books, 180 articles to his name. So together we'll be exploring leadership, culture, the future of work. So many interesting topics I'm passionate about, and specifically how executives can prepare for all the challenges that lie ahead. So Simon, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me to this new medium. I'm learning how to use it, and I hope that I'll be able to comply with your expectation and the audience expectations.
I'm sure you will. You are a thought leader in the topic, so I'm sure all your valuable insights will be of interest. But before we dive into the framework and strategies of leadership, I would like to start with your personal journey. So, Simon, what inspired you to dedicate yourself to your career to values and leadership? And what was that defining moment, no? Either in your career or even in your childhood, no? To make you take this path?
I think there were more than one moment. It's hard for me to pinpoint only one moment. There were a few moments, and the rest of it, I call it serendipity. I was in the right place, in the right time, with the right person that was, quote unquote, my leader. So when I graduated from the university, I didn't know what to do. Should I go to the academic world? Should I go to work? And I had a mentor that thought that I'm called to be an academic and a researcher, and he did everything to get me scholarship so I can do my doctoral. And by fluke, I would say, I ended up, because I was admitted to a couple of universities in the US, and I decided to take the toughest in a sense that it's the toughest to study, because I realized that if I want to become a doctor, I want to be independent. I don't want to be dependent on other people. And I had a great fear from statistics and mathematics and all this. So I went exactly to the University of Minnesota. I ended up doing some interesting work in my PhD studies in a very famous clinic. It's called the Mayo Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an incident in the Mayo Clinic that made me decide to dedicate my life to values, to culture, to leadership. I wanted to create a better place to work, but not just so that people will come and have fun, but people would have fun and would be productive at the same time. And a lot of people told me, this is utopia, this is impossible. Let's see if it's impossible. So what happened is, I think the turning point was I was a normal doctoral student. I didn't know what I want to do in my life and what to dedicate and what to specialize, except that I knew that I was much more multidisciplinary than most people are. And today it is an advantage. Before, it means you have no specialty. And my specialty lied in the interchange between psychosomatic medicine, the Mayo Clinic, psychology, but namely work psychology. I'm not a clinical psychologist, and management. So you cover all the three of them. And I asked myself a very, very serious question based on an experience that I had in the Mayo Clinic. I interviewed about almost 250 or 270 executives
Mm-hmm.
that survived their first heart attack. We eliminated from the sample people
Oh,
that had a history of cardiovascular
yeah.
disease. Those are people that are all executives, all had thought that they are in good health, and one day, puff, heart attack. The youngest was 27, the oldest 77, so I have a range. And I interviewed them. And when they're connected there at the UFI, at the emergency unit, and they are struggling to their life, and I'm dressed in white, and I come and ask you, do you mind if I ask you a question? This is not science, but this was enough for me to start a journey
Mm-hmm.
and ask them, what do you think? It's perception, nothing else. Was the prime reason for your condition? Now, when I was shocked when I analyzed it at the aggregate level, because 90% of these people pointed out to one place, and this place was work. I mean, in life we undergo all kind of stresses, all kind of experiences in life, but 90% I said this is worthwhile studying. What's happening there? And we're talking about a new phenomena that had no color, but it ends up killing. So I wrote a very theoretical articles about what constitutes success in life,
Mm-hmm.
because I look at life, and for me, in my journey,
Mm-hmm.
and the journey I'm trying to communicate to other people, is that most people don't think about, they don't have life philosophy. They go with the punches,
Okay.
and they make decisions when things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that life is like a sandwich. Why sandwich? Because we were born against our will, and we depart against our will.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened between the two of it's like it's a sandwich, okay? And sandwich is typical because the sandwich, it's not important only for the two pieces of bread that you put. The bread obviously is important,
Right.
but what do you put in between? And in between, you need to put something that makes you alive, that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And some people believe that this part is part of God. And I don't have anything against religious people that have faith, but I said, why don't we help God a little bit? And the experience in this Mayo Clinic that I had, and I did not have even a PhD yet. Okay, I was a student. I worked on another project for a group of very famous researchers. What I said is that it's worthwhile studying it, and it's worthwhile defining the two dimension of success in life. Because if you're healthy, you're successful. And if you're unhealthy, you're not successful.
Right.
Let's look at the organization. If organizations are healthy, it means that you contribute to the organization, you're productive, it's good. And if the organization is unhealthy because they have a bunch of people that are dead wood, not good. And I look at the 2 by 2 and I ask, we can have 4 cells. The ideal will be win-win when you're healthy and you're contributing to the organization. This would be my idea. The worst is what I call loss-loss, which means you're unhealthy and in addition, you don't contribute to the organization. And when I talk about health, I talk about both mental and physical health. Okay. Then there is a combination. A lot of people very dedicated to the organization, they contribute to the organization, but they end up sick, like a lot of people that were in the Mayo Clinic. Or people that said that, whatever happened in the organization, they become indifferent. And the organization is losing their potential to contribute because they are so desperate, they don't like what they do and they do it because they have to. They feel like they have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was interviewed in Irish Time the other day, and we talk about leadership, I'm already connecting it to leadership, and they asked me what a leader needs to do in order to convert people's perception that tells him, thanks God it's Friday, to something that people say, thanks God it's Monday.
Monday.
And this process for me is a true leadership, which will help me explain to you what I consider to be good leadership and why leadership by values. So I started a very interesting study to find out what's happening in the organization, and I ended up understanding that is the organizational culture. Later on, I said, and in all my writing, I talk, organizational culture does not exist. Why? Because in the same organization, you can find subculture, and the subculture depends on the leader. So you can have in the same organization some people extremely happy and they say, thanks God it's Monday. And the same organization under a different leader, not only they say, thanks God it's Friday, but this toxic leader kills them, and they kill them without the spill of blood. You don't kill today people with gun only. You also kill people without the spill of blood because you can kill people psychologically. So this was an event that made me dedicate almost 50 years of my life, understand better mental health, stress, values, and prepare people for a new world that is unfolding in a speed that is beyond our understanding. So
Yeah.
you asked me more or less, this I think was a key event in my life. So I was in the right place because there was a mentor that told me that I'm supposed to be academic, I'm supposed to study, so I left and I don't regret. And then there was this experience in the Mayo Clinic, and I happened to continue because the big guru of stress, he was in Montreal. The person that invented the word stress read my articles about the 2x2, and he said, I like to work with this guy, and he invited me to Montreal. And then, if you give me the opportunity, I'll elaborate more on it. But I want to confine it to a very limited time. Otherwise, I'm going to bore the audience.
No, it's super passionate, especially the story about, interviewing, leaders who are, you know, I myself know leaders, and we've recently had an interview of a CEO who precisely, had this life-changing situation of having a heart surgery, and how that, basically changes everything inside your head, and how you relate to work, to work and leading, and your role as a leader. So super interesting. And let's talk now about the values. No, you're a pioneer, and you've championed the concept of managing by values. What does that mean in practice?
Underlying assumptions that we need to make, and then we can build on managing by values. Number one, managing by values, it's a new philosophy of management that is based on establishing a new type of culture. I said it. At the same time, I can say to the people that listen to us that the word culture doesn't exist. What we have shared values, because shared values make a culture. So we can talk about subculture. I live in Spain right now, and I know that some of the culture in the north of Spain is very different from the south of Spain. The south is very different from Catalonia. And again, we can do it at the aggregate level. So shared culture means, so how, what do you want in this shared culture?
Mm-hmm.
So if I try to reduce the different philosophy of management over the years, I would say that we saw a very interesting evolution, that the complexity in which we live today is forcing us to adopt a new style of management. So for many years, the dominating culture, and it got good results to company, was something that I call MBI, and it stood for managing by instructions. In other words, one person takes decision, the rest execute, and it works. When the level of complexity is very low, managing by instruction, it's beautiful. You are even in household. You tell your son, listen, if the garbage is full, take it out outside. Okay? And it worked because you're father or you're the mother and you're the authority, and you tell them what to do, and they know that they need to comply, because otherwise there will be punishment. In the organization, we threaten people. You don't do this, you lose your job. Okay, and it worked. And most people complied. When the level of complexity started to be a little bit higher, we switched from managing by instruction, MBI, to MBO. MBO stands for managing by objective.
Okay.
The problem is that managing by objective in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s worked well, because then the leaders told the people, let's negotiate objectives. You get this objective, I'm happy, you're happy, the company is happy, you get paid, everything is perfect. But the level of complexity got to a point that the objective needed to be completely changed and created a chaos, a dissatisfaction. And I worked in many companies of trying to dismantle MBO because everyone was frustrated because the objective could not be set up. So I created a new dynamic. It's called managing by values. In a managing by values, you move the dynamic not because someone tells you that you need to move. You move because you have passion, you identify with what the company's mission is, and you are moving because, and obviously you need to have the competence. If not, you need to get help. You work sometimes with other people. So the task of leadership is to facilitate, to create for you the conditions that you can be empowered to excel. And a lot of people thought when I talked about it the first time that this is utopia, this is impossible. We don't create an organization where people would be empowered to do and to enjoy. Because I talked about excellence the first time, and I reached the conclusion, and this is my formula toward excellence, that if you apply MBV or managing by values,
Mm-hmm.
you can reach excellence. Why? Because if you have competence to do a job, but you have no passion, you do a good job. If you have only passion, no competence, you'll get nowhere. But if you combine passion with competence, you can reach excellence. And the entire idea of managing by values is create this kind of culture in the company. However, and here comes my scientific background. Any concept you cannot have three legs is useless because a lot of people talk about values. But if you don't define values,
Right.
means what it is, what is the DNA of values, if you don't have a methodology of classify them, put them in hierarchy and do a lot of things that we've developed, the methodology, and you don't have tools to measure them, it's worthless. So I started with culture reengineering of how to help company move from MBI to MBO and to MBV. And you need to have very courageous leadership that is willing to take the risk, because in any process of culture reengineering, there is a risk, because you don't sell a product, you sell a process, and a process can take time. And in the process, you'll be people that will have fear and will try to sabotage, to resist change. We know all this. So you need to apply principle of change management in order to get it. So let me be very honest. I pick and choose the company that I help them to re-engineer and develop the culture of MBV. If I notice resistance and I don't feel people, normally it's CEO of big company
Mm-hmm.
that are willing to share the responsibility. I shy away. I say, you're not prepared for it. Let's not do it. So I pick and choose companies. I do it in Brazil. I do it in Lithuania. I do it in
Wow.
Spain. I do it because a lot of sectors, they want to do it, but they actually don't want to do it. It's
Right.
better for them. Don't rock the boat. Don't we're doing well. We don't need change, and so on and so forth. So in my books, Managing by Value, which by the way exists in at least 10 languages, including Chinese and some other
Mm-hmm.
languages, there is a whole description of the step by step process. How do you move it? But in every step, you need to understand that you may have some hurdle to pass. So it's a process. And in the process, you need to set alliance with the top people.
Right.
And just to end up the story so that people understand that I'm not selling nonsense, I do believe this is not utopia. It can happen. People need to believe in this philosophy that today people are the most important asset of the organization. And a lot of CEO says, our biggest asset are people, but they're doing nothing really to empower these people, because people don't want just to work. I call it people want to play, but playfulness and work are the same. Can you imagine football player, and now we're in Spain, football is a big thing all over the world, it is. Imagine a football player doesn't like to play football, he's doing it only for the money. It's not sustainable. You do imagine ballet dancer that doesn't like to dance, but she's doing it because it gives her money. It's not sustainable. What you need to do is to embed passion, competence, and make sure that people are moving, and it is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible.
Wow.
Okay, so that's what made me develop a managing by values. It's a new philosophy of management that it's not a receipt that everyone can use.
Totally.
Some selected company can use it, and those that have used it in different sector. I work in the health sector, I work in the financial sector, I work in the hotel industry.
Mhm.
but not all the hotel. Some I pick
Right.
and choose. I pick and choose because as a consultant, I have to tell you that when I meet company and they ask to engage me in the process, I first of all want them to tell me, to listen to me, to understand what the concept is, and to see if they are willing to engage. They need to decide if they like my message and if I'm the messenger. Sometimes they like the message, not the messenger. And then I ask them, I want to see if I am willing to work with them. And they are surprised. Say, what do you mean? I said, we will pay you. I said, I'm not here only for the pay. I want to touch your soul. And if I found out that for me, it's not going to be a playful soul type of a process, I prefer not to waste my time because one thing that we don't have is time.
Right, totally. The will has to be there.
The will has to be there.
The will has
Yes.
to be there. Authentic will. I love that. Coming from the heart. It's curious because I've recently seen in certain companies, I won't mention companies, but the role of a chief heart officer coming into play, which I don't know if that's, one of the signals that there is really a will, no, to go through this transformation, no. Like for me, it brings hope, no, to see that some companies, it seems, that are heading that way. And looking ahead, what are the three biggest shifts do you think that leaders will face in the next 5, 10 years?
And again, I'm going to speculate a little bit because I delivered a couple of speeches recently in Oxford to vice president of a big company I did in Rotterdam. And what I'm saying is based on my hunch. And my hunch is based on my reading, because I speak different languages. So I'm connected to the Spanish speaker network, to the English speaking network, to the French speaking network, and to some other network in the languages that I understand and I can practice. So I'm very holistic. Okay. What I'm saying is that number one, we can stop maybe talking about a single person as a leader. Time has come to talk about team leadership. Why? Because I don't know this animal that has all the competences to succeed in any sector, in any place, in any context, in any problem. No, it doesn't work this way. It's impossible. So we need to start to talk about leadership team. And that leadership team is very legitimate. We don't do it. We still talk about leadership
Mm,
as a single term.
right.
Actually, I think we should stop talking about leadership in general and we need to start to talk about followership. Why?
Followership.
Because if they are not followers, they're not leaders. No leaders. Leader needs to exercise influence so they have follower. And I want to propose that followers do not follow a leader that they don't share some essential values. Not all values, a configuration of values. That's why, in my model and in my coaching by values methodology, also, I develop concept, methodology, and tools. I train people how to share values, a leader with a follower, so that it's going to be sustainable. So, number one, the challenge is that they will have to solve more and more problems that they have no previous experience. When you accumulate privileges, because the world that we live in, you'll have no phenomenon. COVID was new, and anyone that needed to manage COVID, it was a new phenomenon. And if you need to make decision alone because you don't have a cohesive team, it's not going to work. And one of the most important, I call it the mother of all values in a team, is trust.
Totally.
So the value of values is trust. And the question is, how do you develop trust in company? I did a lot of research, by the way, and I have
Okay.
dozens of scientific
Yeah, yeah.
articles about the impact of trust. But again, trust is a concept that everyone uses, but if you don't define it, if you don't know how to measure it, and you don't know how to build it, it's
Mhm.
going to be useless.
Right.
So the challenge of leaders today is number one, to like really the sector that they are in. Because if you are in the supermarket and you are leading and you don't like food, you don't like supermarket, get off. Find something else. You need to like, because you need to innovate. You don't need to innovate alone. You can innovate with a
Mm,
team, as I explained. Any innovation is going to be permanent. Very hard, almost impossible to innovate if you have no passion. To me, the driver for innovation is passion. Obviously, content. You can do it alone, you can do it with other people. So the three challenges that also made me develop this foundation of the future work, but I'm going to leave it because you may ask me later on, is to see what are the driver of transformation. And the leaders today, we don't teach them how to become more effective leader. And let me tell you why. Because at the universities, at the colleges, it's much easier to teach them the hard skills of leadership, which they need to know. They need to know accounting, they need to know, but it is the soft skills that will play a more important issue. How do you manage a team? How do you manage a virtual team? How do you reduce stress? How do you create harmony? How, and we don't teach them. So
I love
they have to self teach themselves, and they have to self teach themselves permanently, because the team is not a permanent team. The team is moving because the young generation today, they keep on shifting and they're moving to different team. So you have to face, old leader needs to face new teams every time.
every
And it
time.
is a challenge and it's not easy. And it's not easy for them to manage by not exerting their power.
Mm,
They need to exert influence and not
totally.
power.
Yeah, and they need to start building trust again in order to gain that. I love that fellowship concept that you've just introduced, and have their followers, but the followers permanently. I still remember, no, those leaders who have had an impact on me at my early stages in my career. They define you, and you still follow them, and you still have a relationship with them, no, either digitally, virtually, and because they've impacted your life in some way or the other. So I love that concept of fellowship, and about preparing leaders not only on those hard skills but also on those soft skills. And that's why we actually do at Minds no, because it's so important. It makes the difference, and it's the difference between enjoying your role as a team leader or as a leader, as a manager, or suffer it.
Is this what you're doing?
Per- exactly what you're
Excellent.
doing.
In your company,
Exactly
that's
what
what you're
you're
doing?
doing.
Yeah.
That's what we focus.
I'm not excellent. I'm not religious, but I'll use religious expression. God bless you.
Love it. Love it. So, switching to a related topic, you're involved with a new program, no? The DBA program at BSI. What can you tell us a bit about this program? What does this program, what is it about, and why is it unique for executives?
Okay, I'll tell you what's unique about this program. And in order not to create too many enemies that are going to watch it, I asked my colleagues that are involved in more typical traditional doctoral program, please be tolerant. And I'm not the enemy. I'm the one that is a little bit more visionary. Over the years, the MBA it's losing its power. People are not investing anymore because we know that today learning doesn't stop when you finish a degree. You need to permanently keep on learning and de-learn and relearn and so on, which is very different. Okay, now, for the nature of the problem, company needs visionary leaders that think holistically, they think systematically, they understand system thinking, they can relate more abstract, they don't need as many researchers. The traditional doctorate program focus on research because most people that finish the program, they will be university professor, they will be researcher, and we need it, okay?
Mhm.
The DPA I do the reverse because what is the reverse? The DBA that we've developed, number one, is 100% virtual. So that wherever you are in the world and you are interested in doing this DBA, you can do it and you can select the language that you will do it.
Oh.
You will work in the program. We are going to personalize the content for you to write a thesis that is based, at least in our program, because innovation that we present is a focus on an angle connected to the future of work. Okay, so it could be health in the future, health at work. It could be resilience. It could be new HR system, new leadership in the future, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's not limited. It just needs to be connected to the future. But at the same time, you need to make it relevant to the sector, to the company that you're working. So We offer it part-time, and those candidates, I mean, they need to have at least a master's degree, because the university that give them the title is Lyon for the moment, but we're negotiating to bring another university from the UK. I cannot mention the name right now because it's a deal in process. So they'll have double degree from university, French university, very well known, and from British university. They will give them the degree is there. It's up to 4 years, and
Okay.
they can do it part time,
Mm-hmm.
and they will work with two people. One of them is a tutor, academic tutor, and I created international faculty
Okay.
that is the who is who in the field of the future of work. And there are American, Chinese, Japanese, many of them were my former doctoral students that I trust, and I know they can do it. They need to work on the problem to solve in their industry, and that's why they will have mentors that come from the sector. And between the mentor and the tutor, they will construct a program for the candidate. So it's the other way around. We are personalizing
Okay.
the DPA. Now,
Marvelous.
it's only for executive.
Mm-hmm.
And in some countries, many of them, I don't know how it is in Asia, but I can tell you in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, many countries in Latin America, when you have the title of a doctor, it gives you status, it gives you prestige, and it facilitates your work as a change agent. So previously it used to be MBA, which is good still. Now I think we're shifting in the future to a DBA, Doctor of Business Administration, but it has unique feature. Those of you that are, by the way, BSI, this is my partner in Luxembourg, they exist already 10 years, but they didn't, and they offer the same thing, but in marketing, in finance, the traditional. It's an extension of the MBA, and they have over 10 years, over 200 candidates, okay? In the future of work, we start the journey this year. If you watch the program, you need information, please get in touch with me because we need good candidates. We have an amazing faculties, and you'll be in a position of becoming what I call a future shaper with the title of a doctor from a recognized university. Did I give you all the information? The rest of it,
Wow.
if you just put my name or you put DBA, future of work, you get videos and audios and much more information about what we are trying to do. And we are starting the process. We'll see. And we're trying to open it to the market also in India, in China, in Asia. Those people will love it, and especially when they don't have to travel. So they can get European degree from Rutgers University without traveling. They'll do it in their place.
Wow, impressive, impressive. So whoever's interested can just search, also Google Simon Dolan or the DBA Leadership Program, and they will find the links to all the information. I'm super envious because I did have a look at the program, and they're marvelous professors such as yourself, Simon, but also David Aldrich and other well-known professor. I'm a fan of David Ulrich. I mean, I read everything about him as well. I do yours, all the articles you guys write, because I'm super passionate of your work. So it's not only a program that I see that will enable investigation future, researchers, but also a program to enjoy, and to link it to what you're truly, truly passionate about, As a wrap up, let's wrap up now. We have a few minutes left. So I just wanted to wrap up with a message from you. If you could leave us a piece of advice for leaders, what would it be? Connecting it also to the future of work.
There are some expressions in the Spanish language that do not exist in the English, or at least I didn't come across. I learned that in order to make sure that people understand your message, you need to learn how to simplify it. So I take concepts that are very complex and I try to deliver them in a simple, but it's not simple. In Spanish, we call it sencillo, which means it's more parsimonious. Maybe this is the closest it comes. So a leader needs to understand that, number one, we are not truly prepared for the new future of work. And in order for us to be prepared, we need to always work with double compasses. We need to have a compass. The first compass is an internal compass for the leader to understand what drives him or her. to understand the value system, to understand the passion, to understand the competence. So, and to understand the configuration between the competence, the passion, okay, and the core values that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It's not symmetric. It need not be symmetric. So there are three dimensions, and because if the competence takes 60%, but it's the total is 100%. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
this is the first. You need to have a compass in life, and it's very important to bring the compass from being implicit to being explicit.
Mm-hmm.
I am resilient because I stick to my compass. And whatever happens to me, I will never get stressed because I know that if I'm stressed, I'll be the victim. And I don't want to be a victim from very egoistic reason with the compass. The second compass is to see where we are heading, where the world is heading. And we need to take some risk because if we do not take risk, we're going to disappear. So there are three drivers that a leader needs to keep in mind. Number one, embed new technology. And technology is going to be breaking paradigms. And you need to be in a position to learn, to de-learn, and relearn the new digital world. You have no other choice. If you don't do it yourself, have someone with that you work with that they'll help you because technology is going to be very important. Number two, you need to understand that the benefit for your company, for your services, be global
Mm-hmm.
because forget about being local.
Mm-hmm.
For the most, we can talk about local,
Welcome.
part local and part because today it's all about alliances, it's all about joint venture, it's all about making project that I call it for me synergy means that 1+1 is bigger than 2. So don't be afraid to get into new project. Number three, and this is the toughest for the leader, you need to be in a position to permanently create and innovate because if you don't innovate, you don't create, you will disappear.
Mm.
I was invited 15 years ago to a big companies in I don't know, I don't want to say which company and where, and they dominate the market. And I talked to them and about preparing new prototype product, and I say, why should we? We are the best. We dominate the market. And I told them, you do it today, but what will happen tomorrow? I was amazed to see in a recent report what are the 10 best MBAs in the world? There are three Indian companies. They were not there 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Three. They will not go anymore to Harvard, Stanford because they have it in their own country. Things are changing. So you need to create. Now, create is tough. It's not easy. I always talk about create for leader. It's like the symbol or the metaphor of the pendulum. You know, it's a pendulum. When you move the pendulum a little bit, you create a little bit, but you take little risk.
Right.
When you move it aggressively, the pendulum, the distance between sheer creativity and sheer stupidity is very close. Because if you need to think out of the box, you take risk.
Right.
When I started to write tales for children, people
Yes.
told me this is an old professor, he lost his mind, now he's unable to do some serious stuff. He's writing for children. And how dare he? Because he doesn't have his doctorate in education.
Mm.
I wrote tales for children because we as parents, we are as teachers, we want to instill values in children, but we don't have
Right.
tools. And I thought that one of the best way to instill values is through tales. So I wrote tales for children. They're doing amazing. By the way, my last tale just came up 2 weeks ago. So the first tale is the first tale that I wrote. I wrote it maybe 10 years ago, and it was called The Magic Carpet and the Islands of Values, where a magic carpet that the children to different islands over there, they experience different values. The children finally understand that you need to come with configuration of values in order to succeed in life. My last tale, obviously, is a magic drone that is equipped with AI,
Drone.
and he takes the children to Four Island. Now it's Four Island because I added spiritual island, because I
Brilliant.
want to teach the children that from young age that to meditate, to be spiritual is not something bad. So I did it, and my addition is that I've developed a guide for parents and teacher where I tell them how to use tales in order to instill value in children. And
Wow.
so I give them, they cannot escape. Now they have tools. So leaders need to think about it. They need to think about concept, method, and be consistent. And creativity is not easy because they need to be permanent. Because if you're good today, and this is true in sport, this is true in every single sector. You need to recreate permanently and not be afraid. Not be afraid. If you have passion, you're not afraid. You cannot create without passion. Passion
Mhm.
is the major driver to creativity, alone or with a group of other people.
Wow, thank you, Simon. It's a lovely phrase. It's a lovely phrase. Without passion, there's no creativity. So let's stick with that. And Simon, it's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure speaking with you and having you here in the podcast. I feel we owe each other another conversation. So I'm sure there'll be chapter two. I feel we need to plunge deeper into the world of, the future of work and how AI and technology may reshape and is reshaping, our roles as leaders as well. So I would love to have that conversation with you as well in our second chapter. So let's make sure we book another slot for you. And thank you for sharing your insights on leadership, on culture, on the future of work. For our listeners, you can learn more about Simon's work and the DBA program online. You just look up Simon either on LinkedIn or on Google. He has his own page. The DBA program is also available with their own web page where you can find more information. If you also want any information, just drop us a line either to Simon, to myself, which I can provide you with the links. Okay, so thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for the interview. An amazing, intelligent question. It shows that you really did your homework. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. See you soon. Bye.
Leadership Plunge podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.